What's up YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gas It Garage. Today we are going to be working on and riding my Bombardier DS650 here. We are going to be replacing the rear tires, cleaning the carburetor, changing the oil, replacing this bent A-arm, also replacing the bent tie rod, putting in a new starter and remounting the muffler, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to take this thing for an epic ride and a really fast rip. So be sure to stick around for that. Enjoy the video. Alright guys, so my 2003 Bombardier DS650 here has a couple of issues. Well, actually quite a number of issues. For one thing, the left tie rod here is shaped like a banana because I rammed it into the wall of a trail. Here's the footage of that real quick. Also, the starter on this thing, I think, is going bad because even with a fully charged battery, this thing spins over really slowly, and the starter makes some really bad scraping noises. So I'm assuming the starter, or possibly the gears that go to the motor, are going bad. So I'm going to replace that. And then the lower right A-arm right here is ever so slightly bent. It's really hard to see, but it's actually bent just enough to throw off my alignment on this thing. So this tire is about 2 inches further that way than the left tire over there. So I'm going to be replacing that. The rear tires on this thing are still good. They still hold air, but they are starting to dry rot a little bit, and the tread is getting a little bit worn down on them, and I need much better tread on my tires. So I'm going to be replacing those rear tires. And then also the carburetor probably needs to be cleaned, so I'm going to do that. And then the front brakes on this thing haven't ever worked since I bought this thing, so I'm going to be finally fixing those in this video. And then the muffler on this thing is really loose, so I'm going to be rebuilding that mount to try and get this thing much more solid. So I'm going to quit talking and let's jump right into the time lapse. All right, so I just got the starter replaced in here, along with the left tie rod and this A-arm over here. This is the old one, and it's incredibly hard to see, but it is just ever so slightly bent, which was throwing off my alignment. So now, if you look at my alignment, it's perfectly straight. So now that I put that new starter in, I want to see if this thing will start up any easier than it did before. Okay, the carburetor is leaking right now, so I'm going to make this quick so I can turn the fuel back off. That's odd. I've got the other jump starter, let's try this again. That's odd. It just sounds like the starter is just spinning. Yeah, it's not spinning the engine over. That is very odd. All right, so what I think is going on here is there's something wrong with the gears underneath this cover right here. So I'm gonna have to take the exhaust off and I'm gonna have a look underneath there and see what's wrong. But I'm gonna work a little bit of editing magic here. So I'm looking at this right now and I don't necessarily see anything that would cause this engine not to spin, but I may have to set the camera down for a second and just take a closer look at this thing and kind of take some of these gears out and look and see what the problem is. All right, so the only thing I've noticed so far is all of this right here mixed with oil is tons of metal shavings, like a lot of them. And if you look at this piece right here, all this on here, that is all metal shavings. Luckily, most of them have been collected by that magnet right there, but it makes me wonder where they're coming from. I'm gonna look at this a little bit more off camera and then we'll go from there. All right, so for right now, I just put this cover back on here because that's all I can do for today and I just don't want any debris getting in there. But what I found in here was that the ring gear that goes on the back of the flywheel to actually spin the engine over with those gears you saw in there, that thing should be connected to the flywheel with a type of clutching mechanism, but I think that mechanism is broken. So the gear, when you hit the starter, it just spins without actually spinning the flywheel, which is not a good thing. So I think I'm gonna have to get a new part to replace this, which obviously is gonna take some time to get here. But also, I found these 4 nuts just floating loosely in the bottom of the engine. They could be from the back of that ring gear, and they could be the nuts that help hold it on to the flywheel. So the fact that they came off is kind of concerning. So once I order the new part, I'm gonna take this thing back apart, get the flywheel off, and I think I have to get a special tool to do that. So I'm gonna try and get that and then get this thing replaced so I can actually get this thing running again and get it to start easily and reliably, because before it was really, really hard to start. And that's probably what that old scraping noise was. As for right now, I just got this cover on here and there's nothing really more I can do on this for right now. So, all right guys, so I just got the new parts that I need for this thing along with a new gasket. And I also ordered a new set of rear tires for this thing because the old ones are pretty worn out and one of them doesn't hold air very well. So I went ahead and bought some new ones. But these are extra knobby hole shot tires that should give the thing a lot more traction and make it super duper fun to drive and probably accelerate better on dirt, because right now it just spins the tires. So after I get those parts replaced over there, I'm going to replace the rear tires as well. so I cleaned up this flywheel off camera along with the other parts that were in here and this plate, which was actually bent a little bit, so I got it straightened out. And those 4 nuts that I found earlier, I think went on these 4 bolts right here. But since this thing is going to be pinched in between the flywheel and the gear, I don't think I really need those on there. So we're just going to hope for the best and put this back together without it, but I think it should be fine since it's pinched between this and that. Now, I am using the original gear right here versus the new one that I got, because this one just doesn't seem as strong because it has holes in it, and this one just feels heavier and it feels a lot more sturdy. And it's the one that's been in here, I think, since the factory, and it's still in almost brand new condition, so we're going to use it. Plus, the holes on that thing start to catch the tips of these bolts right here, so I can't really use it. And I found out why the system wasn't working before. This sprag clutch is completely destroyed. I think the little spring that holds all these flyweights broke, so it basically just grenaded itself and got completely destroyed. So I replaced it with this new one in here. So we're going to put this thing back together. I'm going to look up some torque specs, and hopefully we will have a working starting mechanism. Alright guys, so I finally got this darn thing completely put back together. And let me tell you, the camera does not do this justice. Not only how long it took, but also the amount of work. This was a lot of work, way more than it looks on camera. So it's late, I'm gonna get a shower and go to bed and get back on this in the morning. And I will get on the rear tires and replacing those. And then after that, we can try and start this thing up and maybe work on the carburetor, change the oil, and maybe start on the front brakes if I have time. And also the muffler mount. So I'll see you in the morning. I'm exhausted. All right, guys, it's the next day. So let's go ahead and finish up the last couple things we need to do on this four-wheeler to get it drivable, starting with the tires. Alright guys, so I just fixed the carburetor on here, or mostly that is. It still drips a little bit, but it's way better than it was before. And I also ran this little line so the fuel that does drip out will go away from the engine. And then on the muffler here, I put a bolt in right there for that mount because there wasn't one, and I also reinforced this mount with a couple of extra spacers in there. And now this thing is nice and solid and part of the machine. So right now I want to see if the engine will start up better than it did before with the new starter and the new starting clutch that I put in. So I'm going to hook up my jumper pack and we'll see if this thing starts up. All right, let's see if this thing will start up. Awesome, that starts up so much smoother than it did before. Super happy with it. All right, so next thing, I'm gonna change the oil real quick, and I'm actually gonna wait to fix the front brakes because this thing is still perfectly drivable and it stops pretty well with the rear brakes. And I'm mainly waiting on that and trying to speed things up as quick as possible here because we're actually going to Mini Mayhem with cars and cameras up at Busco Beach ATV Park in North Carolina in like 10 days. So I'm gonna bring this thing up here and finish this video while I'm up there at Mini Mayhem. So instead of riding this thing at Iron Mountain like I normally would, I'm gonna rip it around at Mini Mayhem, which is gonna be super cool. So let's get the oil changed because I still have some other work to do on some of the other machines to get ready for that. So we can go up to Mini Mayhem and have a blast. So let's get the oil changed and then I will see you at Mini Mayhem. Alright guys, we made it out to Mini Mayhem. We're having a blast so far with all the other machines. So I'm going to take the DS650 and go take it for a rip. There's a really cool track over there that I'm going to hit, and then later today I'm going to take it down the drag strip. Let's do it. Alright, here we go. Warm up for a sec. Well, it died. All right guys, so the DS650 is working awesome, although it does try to die on me every single time I run it down the drag strip way over there. But overall, this thing absolutely shreds. I love it. My oil light right here did come on, which is why I had to drive it back and just, I guess, let it cool off. I may need to put some more oil in it, so I'll look at that later off camera. But overall, this thing is back up to being awesome again. These tires are super grippy, and I actually was able to pull a wheelie off the line at the drag strip, which I was never able to do before, because last time it just spun the tires because there was almost no tread left. But now this thing is 100% awesome again. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And then also go check out the Mini Mayhem video that I'm making while I'm here. It's gonna be awesome too. And I'll throw a little bit of the DS650 footage in that video too. So thanks for watching.